Hello, and welcome to Home DIYs for Busy Women, a safe space to dream, learn, make mistakes, and talk about the real stuff when it comes to home DIYs and beyond. On today's episode, I want to share some of my DIY disaster stories and what I learned from them, and hopefully you can learn a bit too, because I think it's so easy to talk about successes and like do before and afters of what worked, and how you've really improved a space. But what's not often talked about is the messy in the middle there. And so I just want to share a couple of my biggest, I guess, blunders that have really taught us a lot. The first one is my first big like DIY project I did was in our townhome back in 2017. Our powder room on the main floor was like a bright fire engine red, and I didn't like it, and so wanted to kind of change up the space and make it a little bit more moody and dramatic. So I wanted to paint it like it was like Chelsea Gray by Benjamin Moore, like a nice, kind of rich charcoal gray. And so it required me like removing some hardware and filling some dents and doing a lot of sanding. And since it was my first project, I thought, I can just, do this quickly, and asked my husband, Matt, and my dad for a bit of advice. But I rushed through it. I filled the holes, sanded, and then thought, okay, I'll just start painting. Little did I know I should have done like 2 coats of priming and sanding, just made sure it felt really smooth. And then I should have used a paint with a primer, or do a proper primer coat first. And so I just rushed it, and it looked so just bumpy and terrible. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I got so frustrated. I had to take a step away from the project, and came back to it and kind of had to restart it. But it ended up just not looking great. So what I did was I bought a bigger mirror to cover up all the mistakes, and and then a big piece of artwork as well, and it kind of made it work. And it definitely looked a lot better than it was when it was fire engine red. But it definitely was a lesson in that prep work is everything when it comes to painting, and it's like a tedious process, but you really need to give it its due time and attention. And take it from me, it really, and when it's not done well, it doesn't look great. No amount of paint can fix that. And so so I just remember I was ready to throw in the towel and just give up completely. But taking a breather and coming back to it, I was able to make it look a little bit better, but then had to, like I said, buy a bigger mirror to cover up my mistakes. And so I don't think anyone really noticed it, but I did. Every time, let me tell you, every time I walked into that powder room, I would be like, oh, there it was. So anyways, so don't rush your prep work. Use a primer, even if the paint says you don't have to use a primer for it. Use a primer coat, and just take your time with that prep work. So that's that was super frustrating for me. And another story that we have is when I was pregnant with our first daughter, Brielle. I was in this mad dash to get as many things done around the house before the baby comes, right? And so my poor husband was along for the ride with that, and I was definitely nesting big time. And so we finished up like all the flooring in the house. We oh man, just so many things. I think I had like the cupboards painted, I was on a mission. And so one of our big things was we had 2 bathrooms upstairs, and the one that was going to be the kids' bathroom had like some old linoleum in it. And so we put like a marble look vinyl tile down. And so that required removing the toilet, putting the new flooring in, and that was kind of like our last project. And so in between doing the flooring, I had painted the bathroom, made it look so much better. Matt finished the flooring. We put the toilet in, and we're feeling really good about ourselves that day, actually, because all of this hard work that we've been doing over the last couple of months we were finished. We're like, okay, we are done our renos. And I was, yeah, quite pregnant at the time. And so that night we were sitting up in our loft, watching TV, having some snacks. And I went downstairs to go to the bathroom and grab some more snacks, which when you're massively pregnant, you're going to the bathroom all the time. And so I was down there and I looked at our powder room, which was right below the bathroom we had just done the work on. And I'm like, that doesn't look good. It was like, there was like water leaking. And so I like holler up at Matt. I'm like, Matt, like come down and take a look at this. And oh, the toilet that we had just reinstalled was leaking, and it leaked onto the ceiling of our powder room. And so like we're freaking out, like Matt, we went up and double checked the connections. We're like, okay, we caught the leak, but we were Matt took off some of the ceiling, and just completely, like, our night went from feeling so good about everything we had accomplished to like utter like disaster zone and defeat. And so it ended up being okay. We had to patch up the ceiling, and it could have been a lot worse, especially if I didn't go all the way downstairs to use that powder room. It would have been like all night leaking. So it wasn't as bad as it could have been, but it definitely was a wake up call for us. And so our takeaway from that was, especially when it comes to like water connections, make sure you're double checking your connections and making sure they're extra tight, and just, yeah, not rushing it. And I think it was definitely a product of us just being tired of renos and just wanting it done. And yeah, but definitely don't skip that part. The second thing it was a very small leak. And so we had started like ripping things out to like let it all dry. And because it wasn't large, we were told that we could have probably just let it, dry overnight and not have to take everything out right away. But in our panic state, we took that chunk of the ceiling off, but we probably could have let it dry and maybe not have had to do as much repair. But it worked out. But just anything with flooring and water connections, just be extra careful, people, because it can go sideways real fast. And then, going back to our townhouse. Our townhouse was our first house, and that was the one where we definitely learned a lot about home renos, and we've corrected some of the things in our house now. But yeah, it was definitely lots of trial and error there. The other one is we did this really cool feature wall in our living room of our townhouse, and it was like a rustic wood feature wall, and it looked really great. Got lots of compliments on it, and we ended up, it had a fireplace on it as well, and so we cleaned up the fireplace and then put like the rustic planks around it, like a shiplap look. But it was because we're going for that more rustic look. It wasn't like as precise as like a shiplap wall looks, and it came together beautifully. And my husband did the nailing of it, and yeah, we were so happy with it. Actually, you can, on my website, I'll post it in the show notes here, but I have a template, actually, if you're interested in the step-by-step of how to do a feature wall. I'll have that available in the show notes. But the mistake we made was, so we put our wall up, super happy with it, and then it was a couple months later, because our daughter was born by this point. Must have been like 6 months after we did the feature wall install. I'm sitting there playing with her in the living room, and I'm like, that board is warped there. And I touch it, and I'm like, it's wet. It's like, oh my gosh. And so I call Matt, and so when he got home, he took a look at it and went behind the wall and saw that it was leaking. And so when we installed it, we put a brad nail through the pipe, and so it had been the nail punctured the pipe, and it had been slowly leaking until it burst, and a whole bunch of the wall was wet, and then the board started to get wet, and so we had to rip a bunch of it off. It broke my heart. Luckily, we had a plumber that was our next door neighbor, and she came over real quick and repaired it, repaired the pipe, and we had a box of extra planks, and so we were able to patch it up and fix it within a couple of days. But that was a huge, a huge learning moment where, like, okay, you have to check for studs, but you also got to make sure that you're checking all other connections and things that are behind the wall. And so we definitely learned that the hard way, where you can't just willy-nilly put the planks up. So let that be a lesson to you guys, is that if you're doing a feature wall, double check what's going on behind that wall, right? It's not just your studs that you're looking for, it's any other connections, wiring. So that sucked. Honestly, my heart dropped. I was like, oh no, our living room that we worked so hard on. But it turned out to be okay. But it was just just a huge upset. So lots of lessons learned. And then the other one that I wanted to share today was in our basement in our current home. So we moved in 2022 and basically needed to paint the whole house. And so very quickly I was choosing paint colors, and in the basement room, when we first moved in, it's our master bedroom now, but it was my husband's office and kind of like a spare room at the time. And Matt really didn't want it painted white or beige or anything. He wanted a color. And so I chose like a seafoam green that looked really good in my in-laws house. And I was like, oh, that'd be perfect. And because we were in a bit of a rush, I just, started painting it, and it looked so dark and so different than it did in my in-laws house, where there was a lot of light. And I didn't hate it, but I definitely didn't love it. But because it was in the basement, I just didn't get to redoing it for like 2 years when we were finally doing our basement reno, where we actually made that basement room our master bedroom, and then redid the bathroom down there. And that's when I finally got to repainting it. But for a couple of years, every time I would go into that room, I'd be like, ugh, it's too dark, it's not right. And so my advice to you, just learning from that, is take your time with paint colors. It can be like a bit of a tough decision to make, but for us, it was like, if I had just taken a bit more time, I might have found a color that I was happier with for the couple of years it took me to repaint it. But for choosing paint colors, what I would really recommend is testing it on a wall and looking at it in different lights. So morning, afternoon, evening, see if you like it. And then you can also, I heard this tip where you can get foam board from a dollar store, just white, paint it, and then you can try out what the paint color on a big sample looks like in the room in different on different walls. And it would be an easier way to, see if you actually like the paint color. So but yeah, I felt like we were in quite a time crunch, that I just needed to make decisions and make them fast. But the result was having a color on the wall that I definitely wasn't, the most happy with. So yeah, I would say take your time, and it'll all come together. And so basically, after, I have definitely more stories that I will share on other podcasts, but I don't want to inundate you with like so many stories in one episode here. But basically, my final thoughts are, as frustrating as these situations were, they also really taught us a lot. I wouldn't have known, to take so much time with prep work if I, didn't make a mess of it the first time. And even when we had like these projects and we were in the middle of them, or even after we finished and they had these big mistakes happen, we were still able to figure it out. So if you're in the middle of a project and you're feeling, oh my gosh, everything is going wrong, I do not like how this looks at all, the answers are out there. And if you just give yourself a bit of a break, come back to the project with fresh eyes, you will be able to find a solution to the problem. There's lots of information out there. You can always message me. I'll help you with whatever I know. And, as hard as it and frustrating as being in the middle of a renovation can be, you will get through it and you will be happy with the end result. And all those imperfections that you might notice and like be unhappy with, no one else will notice. And in the end, if you just persevere through it, ask for help, you will be able to complete the project in a way that makes you happy and that you're proud of. So that would be my takeaway from you or to you is to just keep persevering in those times where you feel like everything's going wrong, because it will work out and it'll be worth it. And also check your paint colors on different walls. Make sure your plumbing connections are very tight, and also make sure you're checking behind a future wall. Just make sure you have a good understanding of what is going on behind that wall before you start putting up your planks. And if you want to have more information or you're interested in hearing more, check out sherrywalker.ca. I have lots of blog posts on there about past experiences, and also on the show notes, I'll post the the rustic feature wall guide that I have, as well as I have 5 decor hacks that you can implement in your house today that might be super helpful for you to check out. So feel free to take a look at that as well in the show notes. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And thank you for listening. And from one DIYer to another, you can do this. I know you can. Have a good one.